All right, prospectors, welcome back. Here we are on another country road, headed up to the gold fields. Beautiful, huh? So that's what we're doing today, is we're gonna take a look at possible sources of gold. Now, there's no particular mine up here in these hills yonder. Like in the last episode, we went to the Holiday Copper prospect. What this is there were claims. Not anymore, but back there in those hills, there were claims in the rocks up there. And so no one puts down claims for nothing. And there's a lot of iron, what looks like iron-rich rocks up there. Now, what do we have here? There's some type of hole. Look at this. This must be an old watering hole that the rancher must have built. Yeah, there's a tube of sorts. See this little tube here? Kind of sticking out of the ground, and then it goes into this little trough. So I suppose a rancher would back a water truck up and start filling this thing up, and then leftover water would go and fill that up. Suppose that's what we're looking at here. Yeah, this is ranching rather than gold mining, I'm assuming. And then whatever this is, some type of derelict. Oh, you know what? This is a pump. Oh yeah, so there's an actual water pump right here. See this going down? It's probably defunct. But yeah, there's an old time. Oh yeah, it goes down. Oh! Hear the echo? So, chances are, if you hooked up like a pump to this end, and then you connect it to that end, you're going to start pushing water into that hole over there, and then your cows can get a drink. So this is some a rancher's pump for this is BLM land, but they do grazing. You know, the BLM has grazing out here. So you'd have to come in with, I suppose, an electric powered gasoline generator powered pump, and you can get water there to your cows. That's kind of cool. There's a car going down the road. We're not that far from the freeway. There's a car there. There's another one going by on the road. So we're not too far away from a road. Now we're headed up this rancher's road into these hills. Now if you look at these hills, gorgeous rock outcroppings. Obviously more iron rich. And that's what we're going to look at today, prospector, is these iron rich outcroppings up here that used to be claimed back in the day. And I'm assuming this is going to be alluvial gold or placer gold. Now, when you look at the BLM maps at this area, what you see are tungsten mines. Beautiful day, blue skies. Now, tungsten Silver actually comes up with tungsten. Look at this, someone's got a little house over here. Whoa, something's living down there. And here. Could be big jackrabbits holes or badger dens. Another one right in the middle of the road, so you got to watch where you're walking. See that? It's a hole right in the middle of the road there. So if you're not paying attention and you step in that, woo, you'll be dragging a sprained ankle or worse, a broken ankle back down from the mountain. There's so many of those holes that I would imagine most of it's rabbit. Big old jackrabbits digging themselves burrows. What a nice day. Glad you're along for the prospect. Now, there's no particular guarantees that we're going to find anything. But that's the fun of the explorer. What I intend to do is go up to these iron dike looking protrusions, some type of sill or dike, similar to a quartz vein, but in iron rich mafic lava material. And gold will ride with iron oftentimes, and this is gold country out here. And so it's entirely possible that these outcroppings of denser mafic material, these dikes if you will, or sills, may contain little bits of gold. So we're going to go up here and check out these, not way up at the top there, but some of the lower lying protrusions, just to see what we see. Look for hematite, magnetite, iron staining. And what would happen is these, what are now protrusions, used to be ground level. And over the eons, the soil just kind of eroded away from the material. And what do we have here? The end of the line, I think. Let's see. Let's go a little off the roadway. Oh yeah. Someone had themselves a dinner. Look at this. So, needless to say, I have my bear spray. In case we run into something unpleasant. Typically not, but you have to respect the land. Mountain lions, cougars, bobcats, badgers, possibly a wolf. And if you see one wolf, there's more. Black bear. But it's daytime. It's worse if you're out here at night. This is where hunters actually come during hunting season. They'll travel out here and walk up into these mountains, and there's a national forest farther back, and they'll go walking around shooting at whatever. Bobcats, cougars, mountain lions, antelope, things like this. So it's out here. It is out here. Anyways, what would occur up here on these mafic rocks is at one time the ground was level, and erosion, you know, rain, hot, cold, ice, gravity starts to move this mud material down, and it washes around the leaving behind the harder material, those protrusions that you see. And if now some of that rock too also starts to crumble and break, roll down the hill, snap off from the rest of the material. And what can happen is, if there's any little pieces of gold, as the rock oxidizes and becomes more brittle and basically decomposes away, gold won't decompose. And so what you can get, prospector, is in the dirt around those mafic iron dikes, sills sticking up around the base, you could literally get pieces of gold sitting there in the rock, already freed up from the rock after eons of oxidation and weather action. Another word for oxidation is weathering. So simply walking up to the base of one of these iron sills and taking some samples, and then panning those samples. If you're lucky, your pan will come up with some color. And you know what that means? That means the rock that's right next to the pan has gold in it. Then you might want to come and just start taking the rock itself. So that's what we're doing today. It's a nice, beautiful day. Thought I'd make some content for you, for us, up here in lovely North Nevada. Well, the weather is good. It's mid-January. Not cold, but not hot. And that's the precious thing. Whew. Come July, just walking out here like this, whew, you could drop dead. It's that hot. You have to take super precautions in the summertime, but on a nice January day like this, perfect time to get out here and take a look around. So we're gonna have fun walking up this hill and just checking some of these dikes and sills for signs of oxidation, hematite, magnetite. Also look for any stringer quartz veins, chloride staining, possible silver inclusions in quartz. And then of course, rare earth. That's right. Rare earth material comes up in these volcanics, just about like everything else. And back over that way, there's a whole bunch of chlorite with rare earth by the very hot spring. And then the nickel beast, of course, has what appears to be a good amount of material, telluride, cobalt, nickel, magnetized. What do we have here? Looks like some more ranching equipment. I don't know much about ranching, but that's got to be a pretty good business. Oh, here's a little look on the road of what we might be in for farther up ahead. Nice looking staining. Some darker inclusions. Okay, mineralized, nice. Gotta love Nevada for the geology. Yeah, I don't know much about ranching, but to To me, it seems like a good business. What, you put a cow out here and it eats lots of grass. Okay, you put water for it, and then keep an eye on it so no cattle hustler or pack of coyotes or whatever gets it. And then there's probably a veterinarian bill to make sure the cow's healthy. We got some flies out here. I wonder why. So I guess they get their drinks over here. And then as the cow just, time passes, probably doesn't take more than 3 years, perhaps. Not sure. Now, I don't know what this is. That's not for water. This is water here. Maybe they put the baby calves in here until they get a little bigger, maybe. Anyways, so our road has disappeared. So anyway, it takes about 3 years maybe. And maybe 4, I'm not sure exactly. Cow will get bigger and here's the road. And then I guess you'd sell it to a feed lot. So if you manage to buy yourself some acreage out here in Nevada, it's not too expensive. Put a well in. I mean, this is if you know what you're doing. Just let your cows roam on your land, fence it in, and then drive them out to this BLM land where they can graze. Pay some BLM grazing fees. And it probably makes it easier today with satellite tracking. Yeah, they've got these cows on satellite trackers. So you can find your cows, keep track of them on like a laptop. Modern day ranching. And when the time comes, just after 3 or 4 years, send them off to the feedlot and collect cash. Can't be too bad of a career there. So here's an exposed kind of rock bed, and we'll take a second to just take a look at the material. You see a vug or decomposed iron pyrite square. No visible gold or what have you, but there's some staining. There's quartz that doesn't appear to have anything in it, like this. Then there's quartz that has some nice colorization. You've got felsic material. And then mafic material. Yep, lava lands. There's some black staining, evidence of a sulfide. That's going to contain silver, zinc, lead, something like this, tungsten. Okay. All right, pretty typical for the area. So that's looking good. It's difficult with a metal detector because this ground, these rocks, have a lot of iron in them naturally. So, boy, it's dang near impossible to find nuggets with a metal detector. That's the downside of metal detectors when you get out into iron land countries, which oftentimes is where gold is. Whew. And then the metal detectors have a tough time picking up like the smaller pieces. And that's what Nevada has, or is normally, is going to be smaller pieces. And then of course with the years of cowboys out here and fence building and little house on the prairie, whatever, the only thing you're going to find with the metal detector, a bunch of rusty nails, shoehorn nails, shotgun shells, shell casings from rifles and pistols, bottle caps. So what we're doing, instead of metal detecting, so we're just going to go up and get some samples from the base of these iron sills and then run as much material as I can carry out of here for evidence of color. Now I'm doing a little hike because right now I don't have an adequate vehicle for this, but I just picked up a little grub stake job in the town, and I intend to pick up a 4x4 truck at some point here, and then it's much easier. Then I just drive this little field instead of walking, and you could bring water, lots of water with you, material like a little recirculating sluice, little generator, and then you could really do some serious prospecting. But right now, for the sake of content and just having a good time, I just love doing this stuff. And a little explore to get a kind of a lay of the land. We're just gonna go for a nice little hike. Okay, the ground's starting to go up now. Here's where we just walked from. See the car way out there. Right there. Okay. Little panorama. What's nice is you can see the little canyon cutting back to the left. I have my binoculars. Just your standard fare. Trusty pickaxe, some water, and the binoculars. And your pail for samples. You don't need much for this hobby, prospector. You gotta love the prospecting hobby. You know, because it doesn't cost much to do it, and you could actually make money by finding gold and silver, what have you. Not that there's anything wrong with other hobbies, but like mountain biking, it's a pretty good hobby. Just buy a nice bike. But some hobbies probably cost a lot, like toy collection, model trains, skydiving. You know, you have to pay for the airplane. Maybe fishing is pretty expensive if you have to buy a boat or bait and all the material. So this prospecting hobby is pretty nice. Pail, pickaxe, binoculars, and a little bit of hope. And that's all you need. You just pull off on the side of the road, start hiking up an area. Oh, look at this. There's a natural kind of ravine cutout. Let's take a look at this. Now, remember I was saying it's good to come out with a truck with a bunch of water and a sluice and what have you. Because, yeah, you would come into this with like a post hole digger and dig down and just start running material through to see if you can find any color. Now, of course, you want to fill in any holes that you dig. You don't want some cow getting hurt stepping in a hole. So we could see some stringer activity. A lot of mafic material. You've got, you know, your quartz. Here's kind of a look at the quartz vein stuck to the host rock. Now, the gold is small in Nevada, so you're not gonna, that kind of stuff you're not gonna see with the naked eye. For the most part, this doesn't look particularly exciting, although here's some quartz here that you see how dark that color suddenly becomes right there. Silver sulfur, perhaps. So you come out here with the truck, with water and a little sluice. You start getting, so you can see the water comes down, and that's why it's just pebbles here instead of dirt. You see the little pebbles, because the natural water that flows helps to kind of separate or concentrate material. So there's less topsoil and more just pebbles. Ooh, this is a beautiful piece. That brown sugar look on there, and some darker inclusions. Nice. So this has a little promise right here, actually. See those little dark spots in that? Nice. So yeah, something like this is perfect to just dig down and check for color, spots in the pan. Now I would imagine that's what they did back in the day, and they must have found color, because there's a whole bunch of claims of yesteryear back on those hills. It's open now, there's no claims on it now. You know, this prospecting hobby, the last big hurrah was back in the 80s. And heck, everyone and their kid brother probably was doing gold mining back around the turn of the century, 1890, things like this. Here's a fault gouge looking pieces of broken rock with quartz around it. This shows you the tectonic activity that's around this area. Everyone and their kid brother did this. They had the 1849ers and the 1959ers grabbing placer. People moving from one boom town to the next in the mines that sprung up when they found the easy sources of the placer or silver, something like this. And then wars like World War I helped to pick up other type of material from the area, zinc, lead. People were gold mining pretty heavily up until World War II, and then what they wanted to do with World War II is, you know, all these mines had a significant amount of iron in them, in the equipment. So there was a big recycling campaign. So they closed down all the mines by edict, in part to get their hands on the iron that was frankly needed to build battleships and what have you, and airplanes and things like this. And also to get the manpower to do the hundreds of thousands of troops that were needed. They figured, I would imagine they figured by closing down the mines, you'd have all these miners that needed a job. And so if they weren't drafted, they'd sign up for the war. So you close the mine, then you can get your hands on all this old mining equipment to recycle and manpower. And so what happened is there was like 100 years of mining activity passed from father to son, grandfather to father to son to grandson, what have you. And people, they knew how to do it. They liked it. They would teach it to their descendants. And that went on and on until World War II. Then after the war, people came back, and there was a little spurt of activity, 1951, 1953. But that was pretty much it. Then around 85 came around, and the grandchildren, the children of that era, came out here to these areas, started putting up claims, looking for gold. But the generation, died out. So today, prospecting is more of a hobby than a lifestyle. It was a lifestyle back then. So last big hurrah was about 1985. You can see we're getting Mr. Skinny, this type of plant here. So the ground is becoming more iron rich when you start seeing these guys. So we're getting close to these iron dikes and evidence of iron rich soil. That's a good sign. So these old claims that are up here, just people stop paying the fees on them, and today they're nothing but remnants on the BLM website. But it's an opportunity for us to go out here and maybe find something tasty. So that's what we're doing now, is just a probe, if you will, of what's up here. It's kind of a cursory look. I'm going to take back some samples of the soil to pan. Dig down at the base of one of these dikes. That looks fairly oxidized, and take that back as a sample. Just kind of probe the area for what could be a future excursion with a vehicle. Yeah, you see this ground? You're going to need a 4x4, big old tires. But this is nothing. This is no problem for a nice 4x4. So we just walked in 30 minutes here. Take like 5 minutes in the 4x4. Loaded up with water and a generator. Come out to these spots here and start running material. Now, as far as your traditional placer, you're probably better off just going to a river. Ooh, going down there. A river in California or something like that. So this isn't exactly placer lands. But if you happen to find a bunch of placer material around one of these dikes, then you start harvesting the dike itself. Pretty, huh? This canyon starts to open up back here. We've steadily been going up a incline. Yeah, we've gone pretty far now. I can't even hardly see the car way down there. We have some sun left. It's not too hot. Perfect time to do this. Let's take a look at the lay of the land here. A little bit of snow clinging on from the day. Nice little grass of the prairie land. This isn't like the prairie land of Montana where it's really high, but it's a prairie of its own. Little red-bladed grass, little red-leafed moss. Clean stuff. See the prairie land in the sun, the low grass. Not a lot of sage through here. I suppose that's what the farmers like, or the ranchers, is less sage and more of this just grass. We have this little washout here. Let's go down and see what we can see in this. Some country rock with a piece of quartz with a little bit of gray staining. Nothing fancy. And then there's like a little bend. So it looks like what used to be a wash, and then a bunch of material plopped down in this kind of bend here. So this would be a good little spot to dig into. This kind of bank over here on the right. See where it comes down straight, and then it kind of stops here and starts to curve. Oh yeah, and see how these rocks are piled up right here? So when the water's flowing pretty good, it comes down and the velocity stops, and so these rocks drop out right here. So what you do, prospector, is you would actually dig into that where there's all these rocks that are kind of wedged into the bank, and keep going back in this bank. So you dig down and this way and run this material here, and that would be a really good chance of finding any tasties that happen to come down the hill. As far as little placer gold, oh, someone's got a house there, and a little one. Mini house. Oh yeah. And Mr. Skinny here, so iron rich in this wash. So there's more of these little tall skinny plants in this wash than there are out there on the edges. So you figure more iron sulfide is coming down and fertilizing the land through here, which would make sense. Now this is no river, this is just kind of like the runoff when it rains pretty good. And looking at the, when you think about the geology of the times, there was more water in the past. So right now you might be thinking, well, gosh, there's not going to be much hydrologic activity. Well, yeah, you're right. Not much now, but go back 100,000 years, 200,000 years, this could have been really pouring. Nevada used to be a bunch of lakes. And so there was more hydrologic activity in the past. And of course, all these mountains, as they eroded down, just dropped the material right here. So digging some of this up and checking it for placer is not a bad idea. This is natural accumulation of material. A lot of the topsoil has been wiped away. And ultimately, that's probably what they did. Okay, so our road's cutting up this way because it just looks like it's a wash here. What we're gonna do is, since we're on foot, we can take advantage and just keep going up the wash. That's the one thing about being on foot that's nice, is you can hike up the wash rather than having to take the road. There's a little bit of a green color in this one. Bring your Geiger counter. Check for uranium, huh? Plutonium, things like this. That olive green color. It's known to happen occasionally out here. You'll find a little uranium, thorium, and monzonite. Perhaps even plutonium. I'm not too sure about the plutonium though, but you can get uranium out here. That's not something we want to mess with. We're just looking for the gold and silver, rare earths. Sure is quiet. As we get back here in the canyon, it blocks out the sound of wind and other noises. Lovely prospecting. Oh, this one looks a little better. A little bit. A darker coloring. No gold sticking out. Well, that's why they'd call the mines like Lucky Strike, what have you. How many mines are called Lucky Strike? Because that's what it takes, a bit of luck to find the actual vein that pours out the material. And when you find it, woo, are you happy? Especially back in 1880. Now, one interesting side note about these lands is the last of the Indian battles, Native American battles, happened out in these areas. So what would occur is Native Americans would actually kill miners out here. And it was just dangerous to be out here. So there's less exploration that's occurred out here than more as a result of that. So for us today, there's more of a chance to plug in on a Lucky Strike. I have to say, these areas, this is remote, inaccessible, and inhospitable. There's just less people out walking around. You don't see any footprints in this wash here. Here's a little pile of rocks. Let's see what this is all about. Looking up the depression, going up towards Maffick. Oh, yeah, this is, big old badger beast. Dug that out and poured these rocks higher. Something nasty digging around that. Well, I want to check out some of these dikes that are sticking out. That's Coyote Path. Let's go around this bend here and see what we can see. You might hear the bucket rattle around a little bit. I'm gonna switch arms holding this phone up. You know, as I'm walking, carrying this bucket in one hand and holding the phone up kind of eye level with the other. Bit of a workout. Just try putting your arm up near your head and keep it there for about 20 minutes. Here's a big chunk. This is what I'm looking for is this rolled away from its base. This isn't bedrock. This is a chunk that rolled away, broke off and rolled away. But what will happen is this material could decompose from oxidation. If it had little pieces of placer, you dig around the base, check that. Not this isn't bedrock, but where the bedrock is. And because gold is heavy, as these other pieces would break off and roll away, if there is any gold, there's a good chance it could stay right there at the base of the mafic deck. What is this? Some type of fuzzy looking plant with red stalk. Huh. So that's one thing to keep an eye out for when you see different types of plants like this. Mr. Skinny. Here's another one. Chunks like that. Up there. Iron rich rock is coming down. So let's head up the hill here. Let's start hiking up here. Because we're seeing the plants change a little bit. We're seeing big old rocks come tumbling down. That tells us it's more iron rich up here. So let's head up the hill here, prospector. Here's some material that was dug up too, and you can see the chloride staining on the rock. So acid had come up through the area. So yes, this is a good spot to go up and look for minerals. Different types of plants that thrive on iron. Chloride staining. We have, oh yeah, that brown sugar type oxidation going on here. So we are onto a little bit better mineralization up this hill. Let's keep trekking up. Nice slow go. Let's look down into the little gorge. Just beautiful. Glad you're along for the hike. You know, I just love doing this mineral prospecting. And, you know, one day when I get that lucky strike, there's money in it. But until that day, here you can see the nice looking colored quartz in this. All right. Until that day, you know, I'm working a job and trying to get this YouTube channel to monetize, what have you. So thank you for supporting, subscribing, and coming along. See, it's not just getting subscribers. You have to have, for YouTube, it's at least 500 subscribers. Start to monetize. Look at this. Nice colored quartz here. And then you have to post so many videos every month or so. A couple months, something like this. But you're doing that anyways. And then the critical component is watch hours. So when you're sitting here watching these videos, oh, it really helps the channel. So I hope you're enjoying the beauty of it all, as well as the geology and the fun of the hunt and the adventure. So what I am doing is I'm going to run my videos as big explorers. See how we're at the 50-minute mark? I'm going to try to do each video somewhere between 50 minutes and an hour. And what this does, if you watch the video, if you like this type of stuff, I think you're going to watch the video, then it helps to monetize the channel. Long watch times. So what I want to do is do uninterrupted video feeds where you feel like you're going on the Explorer with me, rather than cutting and clipping video together. More of an organic, natural. Now we're starting to get into where the rock sticks up. Here's something that looks good over here. Let's see what this is. More organic, natural feel for you too. But it also has economic value. More watch hours. So thanks for watching the whole video. Ooh, okay, look at this. Here we go. All right. Now this is starting to look a little better. See, they call it box work. You see the kind of square pieces in the quartz. See, that's more of a linear square shape. I forget exactly what that is, why it's something that you want to look for. Maybe it's more material. You see the inclusion of material in there, the darker. So this is heavier than your average bear for quartz. It has that boxwork look. So this is nice right here. Excellent. Well, we're on to something decent. Headed up this way. Let's keep trekking up the hill. Now I've got to keep these videos somewhere under an hour. I'm posting it on TikTok also. I'm going to try that platform. And the maximum length of videos is an hour. So I want to run these episodes somewhere between 50 minutes and 1 hour each. Okay, so this one, what we're doing is we're doing a basic explorer, and we're looking for minerals, scouting the land, checking for placer in one of these spots that looks good. I'm just seeing what we can see as we go. Here's one of those. This is bedrock, because you can see the continuation of the rock sticking up, and see the striations or the layers, like pancakes, like flapjacks sitting on top of one another on your plate. See the layers here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then more on the top. What happened with this is the mafic volcano would pour out lava, and over different periods. So you could have first year, 10 years later, 15 years later, 30 years, 50 years, 100 years, 200 years, and the material would pour out and just solidify. Or it could happen successfully in a number of over and over in a number of and then this would be level. This used to be level when the volcano came through, and over time the ground separated and kind of tilted and folded, and now these things stick up. And then even later after that, cracks would appear, and then this type of silica would come in. Now this is nice. It has, see the crystals of dark in there? We'll take that as a sample. And another one. Look at that. See that dark color in there? It could be a silver. So then later, cracks would appear. Like you see how this has a crack? So cracks would happen, and then if there was another hydrofluid event, it would come in and fill that with quartz. If that quartz has anything tasty in it, you're looking at gold. Oh, probably won't show up on the camera, but this is a little bit sparkly, which is different for mafic, and that would mean that sulfide came bubbling through the crack of iron pyrite, chalcopyrite. So great, so we're on to something good here. Okay, well, let's end this particular video here. I'm gonna hike up over here around the corner and shoot the next section of this little placer explorer. See you there.